Hello friends, how are you guys? Welcome to our CSS training session. Today we will talk about CSS selectors. How these little CSS rules help us style different parts of our website. So let's start today's session. The first selector we will discuss is the element selector. Its work is very simple. Just as we write the name of an HTML element like p tag, we style that element in CSS. So here you can see p tag p element, which we can call it. As you can see here, the p tag can be styled using the element selector. Earlier, we saw an introduction where we discussed h1 tag and h2 tag. Similarly, we're now focusing on the paragraph, which is our element here. Here's an example of how we can apply internal CSS. For instance, if we set the color to blue and the text aligned to center, the paragraph text will appear in blue and text aligned to the center. So I will copy it from here and I will go to my code editor and then come back here to paste it. As you can see here, this is a centered blue paragraph. I'll create another centered blue paragraph. Increase its size slightly and set its width to 100% so it appears properly in the main section. Next, I will change its color to yellow, which will apply to the main section. I will increase its size so it stands out in yellow. And then I changed its color to brown, so here that color has been changed to brown. Then I set its property to the right. Then the item appears on the right side. This is the way we use the element selector in CSS. Next, let's discuss the ID selector. The ID selector is used when you need to style a unique element. Just write the ID name with a hash symbol in CSS. As you can see here, this is a unique paragraph with a name and an ID. How do we know this is an ID? On any page, an ID is represented with a hash symbol if you understand how it works. To target this ID, we use the hash symbol followed by the name we have given to the ID selector. Here, we have set the color to red and the font size to 20 pixels. So, what I have done here is copy the code and paste it into my VS Code editor to see how it appears. Now I have styled it and can see the unique paragraph where the ID is applied. The paragraph with the unique ID uses an ID selector, so the style will be applied accordingly. The set color and font size will also be applied. If the ID is not specified, the style won't apply to the text. It will remain as simple text. The ID selector only applies styling to elements with the specified ID. This is the way how we use the ID selector. After that, we have the class selector. This allows us to create a class and apply it to multiple elements. In CSS, we define the class selector using a dot. For example, if we use center with text align, center and color, green, any element assigned to this class will have centered green text. Wherever this class is applied, the text color will turn green and be aligned center. With an ID selector, we can select only one unique item, but with a class selector, we can select multiple items with the same class name. Now we can see the log here, where we can apply multiple CSS styles. In the main section, we will copy this code and paste it, make a few adjustments, and observe that the style with the .center class aligns the text to the center and the color is set to green. As I mentioned, a class selector is used here with .center. Notice that the class name is set as center, but I have also added center1 as a different class. which does not apply here because the class name is strictly center. If I change it above by renaming it to center2, you'll see the style is removed from the original as well. Now I've removed the main class from both sides and the styles are applied to both. If I want, I can also add this class to a third element, and the style will apply there as well. When you copy and paste it, you'll see the style also applies to the third element. Now see here, if I make it right, then see this. It will start appearing on the right side. If I change the color to red, then look here, the color will also change. In CSS, this is a way to apply the classes. Now see, here we can also combine classes. As you can see, the dot-centered class is applied to the element, so this rule will only style elements with the centered class. So this will work with the p element. You can also do it the same way as mentioned above. Both approaches are similar. Here, in the main section, I'll explain that if you apply dot-centered to a specific p element, the styling will only apply to that p element. For example, if I use h1 with the dot-centered class inside, that class no apply h1 because above we selected p dot-centered only p apply center class. If centered is applied globally to all elements like in the main section, then all elements with the dot-centered class will be affected. By specifying it directly on a particular element, like the dot-centered class will only style that element. Now, let's talk about the universal selector, which styles every element. This means that any element on the page will be affected by it. Here, you can see that we have used the star mark. The star mark is essentially used to apply styles to all elements. So here I take the specific normal, I copy the code from here and paste it in the code editor. Here, you can see that the margin is set to 0 and padding is also can be 0. In the main section, what we need to do is apply styles, like font and other properties, to the body and elements like h1. No color has been set on the main page, so I will use the universal selector to apply a main color and set it to brown. You can see that the brown color is now applied to all elements. This is how we use the universal selector. If we use the star, it will apply to everything. If I set the color for a specific element here, the universal selector will not override it. For example, I set the color to blue and you can see it has changed to blue. This is way how we use the universal selector. Now let us see the grouping selector. Let us suppose you need to apply the same style to multiple elements. You don't need to write it repeatedly. Instead, you can use the grouping selector. As we saw all these things here, we can see that h1 is taken followed by a comma, then h2 followed by another comma, and finally p. This solution will apply to all elements like h1, h2, p, or any other elements. We can use it in the class and also use multiple IDs. We can select multiple classes and IDs with a comma in a grouping. For example, I copy it from here and paste it here. The H1 has become H2, and the paragraph P text above these elements is now centered with the color changed to brown. This is how we log in and set up the main section in green. You can see it is now green. If I need to change only the H2 element, I can simply target H2 and set its color to pink, as shown here. Here H2 text has turned pink and is centered. If I want to adjust it further, I can do that as well. Now, the last type is attribute selector. These selectors target elements that have a specific attribute. Like we target links, then we use the attributes. Now we will simply see here. Here, the target has been set and the name target has been assigned to this anchor tag. Selected target attribute has a yellow background color. Now, I simply copy the code from here, go there to my code editor and paste it. Here, we have the style tag and we've taken the anchor tag to target its attribute. We're setting the background color to yellow. You can see the last link here and we're applying the tag. The visible color has changed to yellow, which is different from before, as the target attribute has been used. Due to the use of target, the color has become yellow. If we remove the target attribute, the style will no longer apply. You can see here that it no longer applies. We can also do this in another way by targeting a specific URL and applying a style to it. Directly, I will tell you in the same example as I did earlier. Here, simply copy the H reference. Apply the style given below and add another href for the specific URL where it will be applied. This is way how we use the attribute selector. These basic CSS selectors will help you style elements, allowing you to easily customize your website. If you want to know more, feel free to ask me in the comments. Keep smiling and happy coding. Thank you.